Welcome everyone to another edition of Gearbox Garage, and today we are going to be doing the foam rope inserts into all these cracks, and then once everything's down just below the surface, we will come back through and caulk everything. And basically what it's going to be doing, I'll have to blow everything out, clean everything up, but this, instead of having an inch down like so, it'll just be just under the surface, just enough for the caulk to get down in there, and a bit lower than that, but just enough so that the caulk can go down a little bit, bite into the foam, bite into the sides, and come across so it's nice and smooth. And mainly is so that you don't have these deep crevices that you're just pumping the caulk into and wasting money on the caulk. Now, I went to the local, I don't remember if it was Home Depot or Lowe's or what, but they had this stuff, and this is what I'm using. And this size is the large, almost 30 ounces, and I think it was $15. The normal size caulk tube was a third of the size, and it was, I think, $13. So it was cheaper to buy a multiple of these and the bigger gun that it didn't have. Overall, much cheaper than buying a bunch of the little ones. And I believe what this is going to come out as, this 2,000 square feet floor that I'm doing, it's going to be about 5 of these. It's going to vary a little bit if you got a little bit in any of the crossroads where if it's pitted or dropped, chipped out of there, you have to fill it up a little bit more, but that's what we're looking at. So I'm going to be blowing this out, and I probably will go ahead and wash it today, and that way it's clean. I can then put the foam in, and then tomorrow it'll be tomorrow or the next day it'll be dry enough that I can go back and put the caulk over top of it. But we'll see how it looks. Here you can see I've got the foam down inside there, and I ran the caulk in on top of it, and then took a little trowel and just kind of smeared it out as flush to the top as I possibly could. Mainly just so I don't have dirt falling down in there, or highway for bugs, or having to waste a bunch of money with spinning the caulk. I had a whole bunch of caulk on it. So here you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Versus just the empty void that just drops off down into nowhere. So I'm in the middle of putting down this cord so that one, I can caulk the joints, and two, I don't have to spend a bunch of money on caulk to fill the things up or have it settle. And a lot of people are saying, well, why are you doing it? Number one reason is as you can see, you got a nice deep crack there, and then down there you just got a small one. And you run a nice little bead of caulk right down through that, and then you smooth it out, and then I paint. Then it still can expand, but you're never going to have oil or any of the other crud that falls down in there. You're never going to have. My number one issue is this. Now, here we have ants. So you stick that down in there and you piss them off. I was trying to dig some of these little pieces out, and you got all these pissed off ants running everywhere, and it's just highway for them. And you can see they're everywhere in there. And so you fill this up, and it will look better. I can keep everything clean. I don't have bugs running in and out of the shop. And when I spray, I can spray along the base lines, and then that's where the bugs are going to be. They're not going to be out here in the middle. and then and I'll spray it on the outside, and that helps keeps everything down. No more bugs, no more issues with oil running down in the middle of the crack that you're never going to get out, and whatnot. But one of the main reasons. I have sanded, I have washed, I have installed the rope foam cord in all the cracks, and I was going to go ahead and caulk, but I was afraid that I have to caulk and then have to wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to pressure wash and clean. So I went ahead and pressure washed everything, got everything clean. Most of the animals won't be able to come up through the floor anymore. I'm going to be spraying some bug stuff on the inside and outside. And I went ahead and tonight got a degreaser and pressure washed and scrubbed. And most of the floor, you know, it's nice and clean. There's not much of an issue. And when I had a couple leaks, and what I was trying to do was just put oil down and see if I can see the sheen, and you can see the spots that were there. But that's scrubbing and pressure washing and everything that I can do. And you can still see a little bit of oil there, so I might have to work on this one section some more. But I'm gonna let it dry, that one section, everything except for that one section, and but everything else is just about ready for paint. I had to spend quite a bit of time on this, so it's probably going to take 4 or 5 days. I can finish scrubbing in case I make any leaks or anything. I can then finish scrubbing this up, this one little section, and that's what I'm gonna work on tomorrow. All right, appreciate it. Getting close to paint time. All right, well, after I let it dry for a day, I came back in and I could kind of see there was still dirt. I don't know if it was like a fine dust or whatever. Here you can see I just got the pressure washing, so I mean, I spent quite a bit of time in here trying to get as much of this stuff clean. The issue is I go and clean it, then I gotta wait 3, 4, 5 days before, so that it's nice and dry, ready to accept the paint and the stain. And by that time, bugs have come in and decided to make this their burial grounds, and I've got dead crickets or grasshoppers or dragonflies, and then I got all the ants eating them, and then it becomes I gotta blow it out, and then it's so dirty. I need to wash it some more. So it's never any cycle. So I wasn't going to pressure wash this last time, but I came out here and I took a broom and I scrubbed the crap out of some over here where it had the residual dirt and whatnot, and it was just too much. I mean, there was quite a bit of stuff. I mean, it was making dust as I was sweeping. So I went ahead and washed it again. So most of the stuff has now gotten to the point where it'll soak up the water pretty quick, and with the pressure washer I was able to get a lot of it out. And tomorrow I'll open up the doors and or at least turn on the fans. I might keep the door shut this time, and that way maybe some of the dust and stuff won't come in, but I'll turn on the fans and get it running, and hopefully I'll be able to put paint down here soon. All right, where are the videos on YouTube when you need them? Hopefully this will help a bunch of people in the future, because this has been a complete learning process and a pain in the ass. All right, so this is where I'm at. I have sanded the floors, I've washed, I've degreased, I've washed, I've blown out, I have pressure washed the cracks, I have filled the cracks with a foam cord, I have went back and put caulk in the cracks. I have pretty much cleaned that as good as I had thought I needed to the first time around. And then when it's all said and done and it's dry, see that shine that's on that floor? And feeling it, I mean, that feels pretty smooth. I mean, there ain't much grit anywhere. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but you can kind of see the sand marks. But I started thinking I had put some pencil marks to kind of center this lift up, and I sanded over them, and then when I was washing, I could still see, you know, weren't as bright, but you could still see the pencil mark. So that means that sander didn't even take enough concrete up or surface up to get rid of the pencil marks. So before I did anything else, I took a break and kind of thought about it, and I wasn't happy. So I watched some more videos, and from what I can tell, this floor needs to be at least 120 grit of texture. Now, I should have told the guys when they did the concrete to just leave me a nice light brush mark, you know, like 120, 100 grit type of a texture, and I wouldn't have had to do any of this. And I would have even done it that way and then waited a month and then painted everything, stained everything, the whole thing with nothing on here other than just the concrete. And then I would have waited, and I would have came in and I brought dirt in and put on top of everything just so that I wouldn't put tire marks or drop something or whatever. And then after I got the building up, I could wash out the floor, and I think that would have been might have been an easier project. But now I'm having to tape up all the lifts and all the spots that are up against the edges, and then whenever when I'm spraying stuff, I gotta kind of wash to get it done. So what I've decided is I have to do muriatic acid, and once again, the process on this after the building's up and you're waiting for the concrete to cure, or when you walk into a new building and you've got to do this, I would suggest pressure washing. I would suggest caulking, foam, but doing all the foam and doing all the caulking, and then coming back and either doing muriatic acid or the grinder. Now, I don't know how the muriatic acid is going to affect this stuff. It wasn't on there very long, and I've watered it down pretty good, and then I've neutralized it. So I'm hoping that ain't gonna be an issue, but I'm gonna test it before I get too far along. But definitely I would have, if you're gonna sand, I would do this first, because then you can go right back over top of it and clean up everything. It'd be nice and perfect and move on with your life. But so I'm doing muriatic acid, and this is, as you can see, this is where I started, and I've got all 7 of this one square up here I still got to do, and I've done those 3 there. So I've done a little bit more than half, but you can, now that you can kind of, I don't know if it'll focus there, you can kind of see how it's got the muriatic acid just etched it enough to give it a, and I'd probably say, I mean, in some spots, I mean, you can do it multiple times, but like right there, I would definitely say that's 120, 100 grit right there. Like this spot might be 160, 180, maybe even 200. But so I'm not sure if one pass is going to do enough, but definitely is going to do better. But the biggest thing I noticed is, see how this is kind of a gray, dull finish, and over here it's got that gloss white, kind of like a powder dust, even though it's not. I haven't blown this out, but there you can see. I mean, there's nothing there, but it just got a different, texture. So the muriatic acid, I was definitely concerned because I didn't want it up against all this other metal, and I didn't have to worry about it rusting this or doing that. But, in science and chemistry class, it tells you that the muriatic acid is neutralized with baking soda. So I bought a big old thing from Sam's, and I've got it in a 5-gallon bucket and a little brush, and after I've washed it a couple times, I go back over everything and soak it down with the baking soda, just so that if there's anything sitting, any minute amount, it's being neutralized. But when you do them, and there's 100 videos out there showing you how to do them, but when you do it, you can kind of see right here. See how there's like there you can see that one. That one's got like a little bit of that's probably be an oil thing there, so I'll probably have to do that one over, because I've noticed that this lift had some oil in it, and it leaks out, and you can kind of get a shine of a little bit of oil on that water. And I keep washing and washing and washing, hoping I can get all that out of there before it sits. But what I was saying was, you can kind of see how when you do this, you want this wet, You don't want it dry like this. You want it wet, not really like that either. Kind of like, you know, like this. You don't want a puddle, in other words. You just want it nice, a little bit of a wet moisture right before it dries, and then you spray it. And I went through two. This is the third sprayer, and it was messed up before, but it's completely messed up now. And one was brand new, and I put it in and walked to the house to test it on the driveway over there, and it broke the handle off. So I don't know. Even though they're chemical resistant, they're not really. Maybe muriatic acid is just too much of a bad boy for it. But this, I think, is going to work. At least it's going to work better. And we can kind of, and I'm just going to do everything one pass, and then if I have to do something over, it's such a pain in the ass to do it. It ain't going to matter if I got to do it now or tomorrow. And if you're spraying, and I'm painting, so it doesn't matter, but you can see how it sprays out of the spray bottle. If you let it sit, it'll just sit there in that one little spot, and then as soon as that amount of muriatic acid in that spot has done its work, it neutralizes. So the concrete and the muriatic acid is creating a chemical reaction that is basically dissolving the concrete is basically what's happening, and that's why you're getting a little texture. And I had a grease spot, and you'll see in the other videos, I had a grease spot right in here somewhere. So there you can kind of see a little bit of oil still right there. So I'm going to do some more stuff in here. But there was an oil spot here that was in this concrete, and I pressure washed, and I put bleach on it, and I put baking soda on it, and I pressure washed my neighbor's. It was a high pressure one, and you can make it lighter, but you couldn't get rid of it. It's completely gone. I mean, there you can't even tell where it was. So I've got to do this square here, and then this half of the building is done. I'm not going to do this one until I come back over here and do these other 8. That way I can push all that water kind of down and out that way. And after this one, as soon as this bottle is empty, I'm going to have to use another plastic watering can kind of a thing, and it's going to make a lot more splashing. So I've got to, it's going to be more of a pain in the ass, but I'm hoping that it might go a little faster, because that one, the handle broke, or O-ring shot out of it, and it's down dripping all over the stuff. So, and when you spray it down, it'll actually create the chemical reaction. You'll actually create like a gas, and you need to kind of test the spot and look and see which way the wind and which way it's kind of blowing, so you can be upwind from it. And so whichever way, whether you start here because it's blowing that way, or if you realize it's blowing this way, then you turn and you just kind of do this square and back up, just so that, because it's a very, reminds me of very much of a first coat. Love bugs everywhere, but first coat, and it's a lot more labor intensive here in Florida than I anticipated. I am done for the day. All right, I got a second coat on these 4 squares down this way, and those 3 there, and then 1 coat on that one, and a double coat on that one right there. So I still got, so basically that's 4 and 2 and 3, so that's 7 doubles, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 1 coat, and then still some with none. But it's such a hot and time-consuming thing. I'm having to do it in different sections in order to be able to have a complete job. I ain't gonna be able to just jump on this thing and do it one time. You can kind of see maybe here, it's a wet, but you can see that's a second coat, and it's kind of like the first coat. You can kind of see little blotches here and there, a little bit of blotches right in there, and it's just stroke marks. But we'll see what the second coat looks like tomorrow. And these damn bugs is so amazing. You may need to do this stuff in the winter. That's all there is.